Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day that we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. So today, my heart is all flooded. I got butterflies in my stomach. Angel Rich is live. If you don't know who she is one of the dopest females. She's a living legend. Like, she's walking history. She is Hamptonian. My cousin told me to tell you home by the sea what's going on.
Hey, love my HIU.
She's an author, she's an inventor, she's an entrepreneur, she's in the tech, and she is a unicorn. What does that mean? She is one of 0.2% of the women Black women that ever raised $1 million on her own. And so if you know anything about philanthropy or raising funds or trying to get money out of people's pockets, it's damn near impossible, especially as a Black woman. And as a unicorn, she's raised over $1 million. So Angel Rich, my hero, my shero, thank you so much for your time. I definitely appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. I need to bottle you up and take you with me.
I am available. So I know you're super busy and I have 1,000,001 questions, but I want to start off with the book that's right in front of you, The History of the Black Dollar, and tell the viewers a little bit about the history of the Black dollar and some of the things that they need to be mindful of and why this book is so important, as well as why this book needs to be in every elementary school, middle school, for all of our children, our youth, to know facts in history.
Absolutely. This book is my pride and joy. I felt the need to write it so that everybody could be on the same page as they read from the same book. It begins with the beginning of America, which also happens to coincide with the beginning of Black America. And so we trace the history of Black America from the very first slave ever entering America, the first dollar that ever touched our hands. And we bring everybody forward to present day and all the different financial stories that has happened to our community in between.
Mm-hmm. Like the Tulsa, like the fact in California that we had our own currency. Like there's jewels dropped in that book. So if you don't know, you definitely want to get your hands on it. Where are you in the efforts to having this book as a mandate for the education system?
You know, I have to be honest, we are much further along than I expected us to be at this point. Long story short, we had a friend of ours named Star Cunningham go to the state of Illinois library and request for it to be adopted in the library. It was a goal of ours, but we wasn't necessarily completely focused on it as much as we should have been. From there, the state of Illinois originally resisted putting the book inside of the library. Well, Star then pushed for them to do a research study on it. They did the research study and they determined that there was no other book written like it and that it was the best Black history book that should be implemented in the libraries as well as schools. They then implemented it in their libraries as well as wrote a letter. Sorry, I'm jumbled. I haven't eaten all day. As well as wrote a letter to suggest it in the schools and libraries across the country. So it's currently being taught in K-12 schools, as well as colleges, as well as you can get it from your library. And if you can't get it from your library, it literally takes about 3 seconds to go online, look up your library, and request a book. I mean, for real, in like 3 seconds. You just Google it, you go in, you put the name of the book, hit the request button, that's it. And that for us then provides them to have to purchase copies to be able to put it in the library. And I can't tell you the amount of stories and families that have been able to share this book together and really be able to get an unbiased, factual history of what has happened in our community.
In your research, did you find the Black history of Massachusetts? Was that part of your research? Because I know the book's currently on sale for like $182. It's literally like a 50-page pamphlet that goes through Massachusetts history as far as like the slave owners and how all of our streets and bus stations and train stations are named after these slave owners. And I found it interesting that that's not like we're Bostonians, but yet nobody knows this history unless you purchase this $200 book.
Wow, you just said a mouthful. I actually lived in Boston for a year. In 2018, I lived in Seaport. And so I was in So, but I experienced all parts, Daryl's and all type of places, you know.
You were here.
I was here. You already know. If I say Daryl's, I was in Boston for real. Okay. So shout out to Daryl. Wow, that was a mouthful. Okay, so how honest do I want to be right now? I also noticed that in Boston, and being from the exact opposite city of that, DC, chocolate city, where we grew up singing the Black national anthem. We know all of our Black history. You know, we're like super Black in DC, unapologetically Black, and we've been that way our whole lives. It's not a movement for us. We've been enabled to grow up that way up until about 2004 when gentrification started happening. That's a whole other subject. So when I was in Boston, I felt that people were so disconnected. I was even invited by different mayoral administration to come talk and to see if I could even help with the issue. But I honestly felt like it's one of the few places that I've been to that I didn't even feel like I could help, because the disconnect is so vast. I don't know how they have done such an effective job hiding your history from you all, to the point that many Black people, even like actual like Black people that's like in the hood, still don't really know their history or really connect to it on an actual like Black cultural. It's like weird to me. So that's a strong challenge. Yeah. And I've been all around the world, but I would say I would have to put Boston at the top of the list of kind of the city that seems to have the most disconnect with our Black culture. Surprisingly.
We are a silo city. We are resource rich. We have a whole lot of money. We're a majority minority city, and like the disconnect is real, and the murder rate is crazy. You wouldn't think the murder rate in Boston is what it is, and you know our systems do a great job making it feel absolutely amazing for you to come to Boston, where you will not feel welcomed or appreciated.
Yeah, you also wouldn't know how large the Black population is in Boston as well. You know, to the yeah, like to the outside world, you know, it's very vanilla. But when in fact there's this whole population there that's not really being allowed to exercise their culture. I just came up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are like not being, it's like, I would say the Hispanic community seems to have a handle on their culture and have that on lock. And there's a bunch of other cultures in Boston, but the Black culture seems to be very suppressed. Mm-hmm. And I would say I had a few minor racist experiences, but I had one, what I would call a medium racist experience with a law firm that I was recommended to go to. And my mentor couldn't believe it either. The law firm looked me straight in my face and told me they didn't believe I invented the product. And this wasn't on like, nah, you're kidding. This was on some straight, like, who did you steal this from? Like, so, like for real. So it was like he refused. He was like, I need to see documents. I need to see paperwork. I was like, I'm not here to defend whether or not I invented this. I'm here to hire you as my lawyer for this money that I just raised. I don't need to defend myself to you. I'm interviewing you.
You didn't hire him, right? You got the firm you went with?
Girl, I've even left money on the table. I ain't even gonna say how much. I've left money on the table because of that experience and got the heck out of Boston.
Damn.
I have tens of thousands that I left on the table and just walked off. It was like, I can't do this city.
And there's nothing we can do to get you back.
Well, Harvard has been nice. I'm considering Harvard right now. Harvard has actually been pretty cool. Harvard seems to be it seems to be cool. So I think that there's some type of nutshell of an oasis happening there for blurs, the Black nerds.
So when you do, if you do decide to come for Harvard, not too far, we should definitely link up.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I was just up there like a month ago. But yeah, I'm considering the business school.
Okay.
No, the doctoral program, my bad.
So let's talk about that, because you are highly, like, what kind of household did you come from? Like, are your parents nerds? Did you grow up reading books as soon as you could read? Like,
you got all the good questions nobody asked me. Okay. Yes, I did. My mother is an extreme book nerd. We grew up with books almost for furniture, but she always had bookshelves. My mother, the entire living room was bookshelves. So it was my house was a living library. Her room also had bookshelves. Each of our rooms also had bookshelves. In my house right now, I have bookshelves throughout the house. So yes, I did. Also, me in particular, I took it to an extreme. I've lost 100 pounds. So I was a big nerd I'm still a big nerd, but I got teased a lot when I was younger. And so I would actually spend most of my time in my room reading. So I used to read 22 books a week when I was younger. And so
you're reading, how fast can you read per minute? How many words
I
per
can
minute?
read very fast. And I was on a 5th grade reading level when I was in the 1st grade. And so just to give you an idea. So in the 5th grade, when I got to the 5th grade, when we had to do our first book report, my book report was on Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world, and everybody else's was on Dr. Seuss. And it was because I had already read all of those. I actually hadn't even read Dr. Seuss's books. Those were too childish for me at that age. But I had read the entire children's library. That was my goal. That's why I was reading 22 books a week. And this children's library that we have in New Carrollton is the size of most people's libraries. This is like a really big library. And so this is like thousands of books, maybe even, I don't even know how many. I've never sat down to calculate. But their limit per week was 20. But because I came every Saturday and I would finish them all, they let me take 22. So it's exactly 22 a week that I used to read until I finished the entire children's library. Then I moved on to the junior section, and then I started just reading my mother's business books. So, and then that helped later on in life when I got to business school, because I had already read most of the books.
Wow. So you went to a historically Black college, right? But
yeah.
You also self-taught. So when entrepreneurs talk about, going to college is a waste of time, when you can be self-taught, you can be, and Og Mandino was self-taught. Schooling wasn't a thing. So when I'm a parent, I have a son that does not want to go to college, but he can sell water to fish. Like your turtle, he could tell your turtle.
You should go get a marketing degree. That's what my major is.
So you've seen both sides, and you would still say, even though you're super intelligent, you can read every book, you don't need the professor to tell you, to challenge you, to still get that degree.
Yeah. My mother likes to say that she made me a beast, but Hampton made me a monster. And so, and my mother started saying that when I graduated. My mother didn't want me to go to college. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. I come from a family of salesmen selling life insurance companies, some of the top in the country. And so she didn't see the need for it. She felt like that I was going to make more money selling life insurance, but I had a greater vision. I wanted to own a life insurance company. And I knew that I was going to need a degree to do that, and that would accelerate the process. Yeah, I could be self-taught and I could go do apprenticeships and go behind people and a bunch of things I could sit here and name, and YouTube all day and Coursera all day and all that stuff. But going to a university is twofold. It's not only the education and the curriculum that it's providing you, it's also the mentorship from people that have been there before you and the teachers that you receive. It's the network that you're building amongst your peers to give you that self-confidence to share ideas where multiple heads are better than one. And it's the after school activities and clubs that you're able to participate in to be able to actually exercise your skills without having to lose money. If you're doing that completely on your own, you're just losing money all day on trial and error, as opposed to going to an institution where you will be able to experience that trial and error and get a degree at the same time that is going to provide you with more money if you leverage it right and get good grades and network appropriately, as well as provide you with sort of the credibility that other people look for in their perception of you. So we still haven't surpassed the era where people are looking for people to have a degree. So whether that actually you feel is helping you or not, it is just in the mere perception of you having a degree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that brings me to my next question, because you brought up that your family is a family of life insurance salesmen and women. And I was wondering, like, how sales, bartending, like your ass did everything. I don't know when you found time, but your ass has done everything. So as far as like life insurance is concerned, a lot of us I don't have like the statistics and the numbers, but when it comes to Black people, like we don't even think life insurance is for us because, you know, I don't need a will. I don't need a testament. I ain't got nothing to leave my kids. I don't need life insurance. We all gonna die. Like, how do you feel would be the best way to kind of like lean our people into life insurance to help them understand the wealth that comes from life insurance? And then when you pass and you leave your kids $100,000, it's not like Donald Trump getting $1 million from his daddy, but at least you're not leaving your family in debt.
Yeah, so that's actually why we started Wealthy Life, to design financial literacy games. The game that we have on the market, Credit Stacker Pro, basically simulates the credit reporting system, and it teaches kids of all ages as well as adults. And
I got it on my phone right now.
Yeah, so we really developed that tool and that game to not only teach people about their credit and financial literacy, but also to expand it into other things like life insurance. We're working on an update right now where we're going to be collecting financial data as well as inserting more questions and information that's not just specific to credit, but encompasses other subjects. We're also working with different partners to lead people to different life insurance agencies that we trust, because we believe one of the biggest issues in our community is not having that trusted factor. And so by us being able to identify people for them to trust, we think that'll help break down a lot of the stigma. We're also working with a bank right now, I'm not going to say the name, specifically on working with Black churches with life insurance as well. I'm the author of the African American Financial Experience Study. A lot of that research went into this book. And I was actually able to prove that Blacks own life insurance at an equal or higher value than other races. So once we do understand life insurance, we actually purchase it more than other races. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of getting through that era of the sort of the financially uneducated Black, to get them to grasp that autonomy and that empowerment that they can control their financial future, and it's not something of just luck. I have a biological father that believes a lot of things are just based on luck. You have a lot of people that play the lottery system every day, and they just Everything's just based on luck. And then I have my mother who, by sheer will, anything will get done. So I think being able to find a balance in our culture where we are looking at luck as the was preparation meets opportunity. So yes, you do have things that come up as an opportunity, but you also need to be prepared. And I think we're focusing too much on the opportunity and not enough on the preparation. Mm-hmm. So if we can financially educate ourselves more, align ourselves with those life insurance agents, understand what the different products mean, not get missold on term just because they're telling us it's cheaper and they're trying to make a quick buck, and not understanding that we really need to actually have a universal life policy where our premium is going to stay the same. And if we run into a hurdle 3 years from now, we can take money out of it and not have to pay a penalty for it. And so
you are that?
What?
Yeah. Are you working on that in real life?
Oh, what was that?
I said, are you working on that? Is that something you're working on?
No, that's what exists.
Hold on, because I was under the I understood it as its term in full, and so I'm ignorant to what you're speaking of as far as like being able to put money in and take money out without penalty.
That's what my family built their career on, helping Black people to understand. My mother created a policy with her company to help government employees be able to get the universal life policy, and I'll explain what it is. Whereas before they were getting their government policy and the face amount would go down, meaning the amount that they would get at the end, and their premium, the amount that they have to pay per month, would keep going up. My mother is the first person that created something that broke through that system to give people the ability to get their own life insurance. And she sold nothing but universal life policies. Now, you have a term policy and you have a whole life policy and you have a universal whole life policy. A term policy means that it's exactly how it sounds. It's for a specific term. It could be 5 years, 10 years, or sometimes 15, maybe even 20 years. I consider those policies to be 100% complete and utter trash. I don't think that there is ever a need to get a term policy unless for some reason you just absolutely do not qualify for any other type of policy. And so a term policy oftentimes will get sold to you or offered to you as from your employer or some type of salesman because it's cheaper. So they'll say, oh, you can just pay $20 a month, but guess what? It only lasts 10 years. So surprise, 10 years later, you're still alive. Now what? Now what? So you just spent 10 years paying on a bet that you were going to die in the next 10 years. Surprise yourself, you're still alive. And now you got to reinvest on either A, doing this again for the next 10 years, or now going to go get a UL, a universal life policy, which you should have got 10 years ago, but now it's going to cost you way more. Now you smoke. Now you then got some type of health problem. Now you done had kids. Now you got all these different things that have contributed to your health that did not exist 10 years ago when you got this term policy. When they sold you on paying $20 a month instead of $50 or $60 a month, and that would have been your amount for the rest of your life. That's why it's called a life policy.
Okay, so I'm taking my policy immediately. Immediately.
Second benefit to UL, and this is the main thing that my mother goes on. My mother don't even call you and say life insurance. She calls you and say she knows how to save you some money. Because in a UL policy, part of the monthly payment also goes into a savings account called your cash value. So it accumulates over time. You can also make additional payments directly into your cash value. It gets a 3 to 4% interest rate. You lucky to get 1 or 2% interest rate at your bank. I swear I got my mother's presentation memorized. And so you lucky to get 1 to 2% at your bank. So with this account, you are able to sort of take a loan from yourself after 3 years of making payment. And if you don't pay it back, you don't receive a penalty. They just take it out your face amount. Whatever your life insurance amount was for the policy, they just take it out of that at the end. So you're not penalized if you don't pay it back. It's one of the best things that anybody can get for themselves. After you have savings, the next thing that you should do is get a universal life policy, get it as young as possible, and get it on as many family members as possible.
I feel like I made a decision because I've had term and whole for, did we lose? I've had term and whole for the last 3 years. And so I've been paying off for the last 3 years. And now I turned 37 this year. And there's like one of those years, like after this age, you're old and decrepit and we charge you a hell of a lot more. Like after 35, like we charge you more money or something like that. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I've never heard of that. Are you talking about for life insurance?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. Sorry. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I was under the radar, but now trying to switch it to universal, I'm going to be hit with that all types of penalty.
But guess what? That's how people mess up right there, right where you're talking about. I hope everybody gets this. Right in that moment is where the insurance salesman will say to you, so you should just take this term policy because it's cheaper. Well, guess what? What's going to happen when you're 45? What's going to happen then? If you feel as though you're in a bad position now to get you out, what do you think? What type of position do you think you're going to be in 10 years from now?
You're right.
So what's the point of just spending this money for peace of mind that you have something in place while you're betting that you're going to die in the next 10 years? Like, I just don't get it.
Nobody said that stuff to me. Like, anybody worded it like that for me to feel like I was making a bad decision.
I just feel like it's one of the biggest gimmicks out there. And I actually was very vocal about that at Prudential. Like when I was there, I was like, I actually won Prudential's case competition to even get in the company off of expanding universal life policies, because I felt like too much focus was on term policies from life insurance companies. It's a ripoff. It makes no sense unless this is the one time that you get a term policy. If not to say it like this, but if you have cancer and you have tried every other option and or you are like over the age of 80 and there's nobody that will give you a whole life policy because you're close to the end of life, then you get a term policy where you're pretty certain in the next 10 years you're going to die. If you are not pretty certain that you're going to die in the next 10 years, then don't get a term policy.
I'm switching. One of the questions said they need a further explanation on why universal life versus whole life.
Okay. The UL has the cash value. The whole life doesn't. So the whole life is a teeny bit cheaper, like $5 to $10 cheaper, but you don't get the cash value as a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. So we covered the book. We spoke mildly on Credit Stacker, which is an amazing game because I'm a gamer and I like to click. I would have one suggestion. I would love like a West Indian accent, like like just a different accent to the
That's a great suggestion.
I just want 10%. That's it. I really want to big up you as far as Credit Stacker is concerned, because it scaled 250,000 users, 60 countries, 21 languages, increased financial education by 42% in 12 weeks and 25% after an hour. Like I understand now, understanding your background, understanding your home being a library and your mom being a nerd, but like at what age did you decide that I want to be in business for myself? I want to educate more people. Your mom was doing a little bit of educating with the universal life insurance and creating financial literacy for Blacks. But what specifically for you made you like, listen, I gotta help my people? Because whether it's the book, whether it's the game, whether it's your TED Talks, like you are unapologetically Black.
Thank you.
Where did you find that we needed the most help and you were just like, it'll be me. I'm not going to wait around for somebody else?
That's a deep question. Okay, so in terms of business, I started inventing things when I was 3 years old. I would go around to the different trash cans in the house and I would try to invent stuff out of it. So that's like my earliest memory of wanting to be an entrepreneur and an inventor. I understood what that meant at a very early age because my family was one. At 6 is when I decided to go into financial literacy and help the culture in that way. I received a vision from God when I was 6 years old on my great-grandmother's back porch step. I remember it clear as day. It showed me my entire life and everything that would happen and what I needed to do. And that is what has guided my whole life. So when people ask how I know to do all these things, it literally came in a vision to me. And that is what I follow. And crazily, everything has come to pass pretty much on schedule as it was depicted to me in the vision. And anything that hasn't happened on schedule has been a result of myself being unfocused on the vision at the time. So if you receive a vision from God, follow it, okay? Don't doubt yourself, just follow it, okay? I started reading, because I'm from DC, I started reading Black history books very young. I already shared with you about being in a library. So being in DC, that contained a ton of Black history books. So I developed a passion for it at a young age and being able to help people. I will also kind of throw in there that I'm a junior deaconess. And I grew up in the church and grew up helping homeless people. When I probably spent about 6 out of 7 days in the church growing up. I didn't even know a secular song until I was about 12 years old or something like that. And so, so kind of having a combination of sort of in my early childhood being raised in sort of this almost like protected, wholesome environment where the whole focus was on helping people, and also having this sort of an innovative entrepreneurial spirit combined with this sort of Black history. I think the combination of all of that sort of led me down that path. So this has always been my intention my entire life. Every paper I've ever done, every research project, every assignment in school that I've ever done has all been in the name of researching and getting closer to finding solutions, specifically financial solutions for Black people to get them out of poverty. I like to help the rest of the world too. I just argue that Black people have been some of the most neglected people on earth, where we don't really even have a home, like every other culture has somebody to claim them, has a parent of some kind. And we're constantly kicked out the window by our parent, even our adopted parents, like China. It's like, Negroes gotta go. So it's like, it's like we have to do it for ourselves.
So as far as I want to talk about, you went to Africa, and being from DC, being everything Black your whole life, how was it for you to go to Africa, and as far as like finances and health and, the disparities there versus the disparities here, the pros there versus the cons here? Like, what would you ever move there? And what did you notice during your tenure in Africa?
Yeah, so the first time I went to Africa, it was after I had just made my company $6 billion. And I had asked them for $175,000 for my church to go to Africa on a mission trip, and they declined me. And so I had just received a presidential award from them, a full ride to Wharton, and a double bonus. A double promotion. And so I go to Africa, and while I'm there for 3 weeks in Kenya, I meet a little boy in a Wharton t-shirt, and it's his only piece of clothing. And so basically, I realized after a while that no matter how intelligent this little boy became, he probably would never have the opportunity to actually leave Kenya, let alone go to Wharton. And I didn't feel as though that was fair. Like, just looking at him, I didn't feel as though that was fair, that this little boy was going to have such a different life and opportunities from what I've had, just simply because of the geographic location of where he was born. Like, that's just crazy to me. And so, so I decided to quit my job after that, to be able to create equal access to financial literacy. And while it was always my intention, I was in the middle of being a global market research analyst and having the guts to actually make that leap of faith to jump out the window. I knew what I needed to do, but I was kind of teetering. But having experienced that in Africa, it was so gut punching to me that I had no choice but to spend my life in my youth. I felt as though my intelligence would always be there, but my strength and my youth would not. So let me leave now and go experiment now. And then, hey, maybe I'm 35 and I end up being the crazy girl that tried to save the world, but at least I tried. And I ended up a little bit successful. So I'm happy for the impact that we've been able to make.
Wow. What changed you the most?
You said what changed me the most?
Yeah, when you got there, when you stood foot in Africa on your land that you get kicked out of.
Girl, you're gonna be the next Oprah. I'm gonna support whatever you do because you got amazing questions, okay? And I do an interview almost every day. You got great questions.
Thank you.
So the thing that changed me, and nobody's ever asked me this either. You're 3 for 3. The thing that changed me was their innocence. Everyone was so innocent, I would say 2 other people that touched me was this man that was like, he was sort of what we would consider a mayor, I guess, of the town that we were in. And he had a law degree. And every day he also only had the same clothing. And every day he would come to me and he would tell me about like this law degree that he got at I think like University of Kenya, University of Nairobi. I forget the exact name. And he was trying to figure out how to get to America. And he had like no path. He had no clue how to be able to do that and to be able to get there. And so that was kind of intriguing to me. Then also outside of Africa, when I was living in China, I dated an African prince for a moment. And he was an international soccer player. And so he was saying to me that he was tired of playing soccer and he didn't know where to put his money. He walked around with like this wads of money every day, jewels, all type of stuff. And so he was like, what do I do with my money? I don't know where to put my money. And I was like, put it on the stock market, duh. And he was like, what's the stock market? I was like, hold up, pause. I was like, how are you this rich and you don't know what the stock market is? Like, what? And so having the experience of somebody out in an international land, but not quite in America, that was rich, that was from Africa, and also this little boy that probably will never leave Salawa, let alone Nairobi or Kenya, it just, the whole thing sort of coming full circle to me, I just feel like it's unjust. And so, yeah. And like Martin Luther King said, a threat to injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah. So you the next why do you feel like you made that comparison?
Well, it was definitely a surprise, but also an honor. I would have to say for myself, I feel like they nailed it. Growing, I mean, they could have chose anybody, specifically Steve Jobs, they nailed it because my entire life, I didn't really see anybody that I felt like I emulated or that was similar to me. I felt like I was the weirdest person on earth. The closest person I could come to was Leonardo da Vinci. And that was like hundreds of years before the time, So when the Steve Jobs movie came out, I sat in the movie theater for about 30 minutes by myself at the end of it in awe. Because for the first time in my life, I saw somebody that did things the way that I did. And I didn't feel so weird or out of place anymore. I was just like, I was just like, I'm special. My brain just works a different way, like this guy brain works. And I mean like literal similarities, like colors. I once fired somebody because they changed the game to green instead of blue. And I was like, who told you to make that decision? They was like, well, it's money. I felt like it was green. I was like, no, I specifically wanted blue and I fired him. That's definitely something Steve Jobs would have did. But I didn't know that until I watched the Steve Jobs movie, And it's just like when you have this vision in your head of something so specific down to what the color and what the font needs to look like. But you yourself is not the technologist. You're imparting this vision to somebody else to build. I mean, it's precisely who I am. So I do feel as though it's a great comparison.
Mm. With money, or how did you create these opportunities for yourself? Because everyone's like, I will do X once I have Y, or I'll be able to create my book after I do XYZ. And it's just like, it seems like there was little to no stagnation for you. Like that vision at 6 has been going. But for people who don't or haven't had a word from God or a vision, how do you begin? Like, how does one start, especially, let's say, for instance, the millions of people that went to school, got a great job and are now unemployed. Like, how can they use COVID-19 for your heart's desire, what you were put on earth to do, to actually move forward with that when you know how hard it is to raise money, to get funding for projects. You wrote, many people may not know, but she wrote the book, History of the Black Dollar, and able to fund her business. And so, when you don't have a parent that was nurturing you or teaching you, or you kind of like 55 years old, you're lost, you don't know where to begin, but you're watching this live, and I have this vision on my heart. How do I start?
You know what? I swear to babes, you do it. I'm going to turn this into a speech as well, what I'm about to share with you. And I've never shared this publicly before. And I'm going to turn this into a speech. I'm going to take you back to a moment of despair that I had. And this is where, if anybody is in despair, I've actually experienced a moment of despair. In college, on my great trajectory, I hit a road bump where my mother was not able to afford to send me back to college my sophomore year. And so I had to sit it out. That's when I became a bartender. When you asked me when did I have the time, that's when I did it. So I became a bartender. I became, I started selling ADT alarm systems and knocking on people's doors. And it was just crazy to go from Hampton to knocking on people's doors selling ADT alarm systems after I had made it so far. So my mother, then I had this crazy boyfriend that I shouldn't have been messing with. And my mother kind of really felt bad. She was beginning to lose her eyesight. And so that's why we were having some financial troubles. And so basically during that moment, my mother didn't like the path that I was heading down, and she felt like my light was starting to dim. And so she, some type of way, came up with being able to send me back to Hampton. So I get back to Hampton, I've set this year out, and we have this thing at Honors College called Good News, where you have to report what your good news is every week. And so I go to my meeting, and I used to look forward to it, but I get there and everybody has like these amazing stories of what they did over the summer and like what they've been doing. And here I've missed the whole year, and I just felt like so behind. So I walked for like a mile across campus with my best friend, just crying tears, just like, I might as well drop out. There's no point. Like, I just can't do this or whatever. Like, I'm so far behind everybody else. And she pumped me up and was like, girl, you got your life insurance license. Like, ain't nobody else did that. You know, stay positive. You know, you got to focus on your future, this, that, and the third. And I was in the 5-year MBA program at the time. I was supposed to get my MBA in 5 years. And I had already come in with a year worth of credits from college. But it was going to put me behind. So in the combination of that moment, I decided to release myself from timelines. I decided that I dropped out of the 5-year MBA program. It already had too many accounting classes for me and not enough market research, which is what I wanted to focus on anyway. I decided that I would take the longer route and I would do a double major in marketing and management, and I minored in Spanish. And then I would go to my dream school for my MBA, which was Wharton or Harvard. And instead of me trying to be a box checker, like Michelle Obama says, instead of me trying to meet all those different dots and I gotta have my, you know, a lot of people say MBA by 30. I was trying to do about 25, you know? So, you know, just all these different, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Blah, 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 blah. I ended it right then and there. And from that moment forward, I have lived my life according to what is the best next step I can make. Not what's the fastest, not what other people are going to perceive me of. I could care less what people think about me. And then they're surprised when I drop whatever it is that I took a moment to take 2 steps back to create. So I think oftentimes people put too much pressure on themselves to get to the next step because of what they think other people expect that next step to be. Also during that period, my car used to cut off at different periods. One time it cut off in the middle of the heart of Hampton in front of the library. And my best friend was freaking like, oh my God, everybody gonna see us. And I looked at her and said, girl, do any of them pay my bills? And she was like, nah. I said, okay then. I literally just developed, I do not care. I'm going to go this path. It was an experiment on myself. I was going to bet on myself, and I was going to design my own curriculum of life and put it together for what I wanted to achieve, which is the life I'm living right now. And if I had not did that, I would have just struggled along the way, did the MBA program, went off to maybe one of the big 4. I would have just kept going with a completely different life instead of being as happy as I am now, getting to wake up with the freedom of doing whatever I want to do. I've not had to clock in since 2012 anywhere, you know, and I live quite nice. So jump out there.
I know you're
a lot of people say they want to do stuff, but they're not intentional about it. Like I had this one friend that kept saying she wanted to be an entrepreneur, but after 3 years, I was like, girl, I gotta be honest with you. I don't think you want to be an entrepreneur. I think maybe you're an inventor. I think what you've created is nice, but you're not about this life for real. So you have to be honest with you. And she was like, you know what? You're right. I want to tell this to somebody. Like, you spinning my wheels for 3 years to help you. Like, I should have just said this to you. So be honest with yourself. Don't waste your time or other people's time. Like, be for real about what you really want to do. And no goal is too big and you are never too old. Samuel Jackson did not start his career until he was 40. And now he's the highest paid actor on earth.
Facts.
And the Colonel, the KFC man, he didn't start KFC till he was 60.
So we know you grew up in the church. How is your relationship now? Or the main question that I asked was like whether or not you meditate.
I pray a lot. I meditate a little bit. I've been getting better at the meditation. I pray every morning. That's the first thing I do when I wake up. I've been trying to also implement doing it right before I go to sleep as well. Meditation, I do it like periods. I'll get into it for like a few weeks and then I'll stop. A form of meditation that I've started, which is kind of weird. I don't know if you're going to agree or not. I've started running. For me, that is a meditation because I've never done it before. So it's like a moment where I don't turn on any music or anything. I make myself concentrate on a particular spot that I'm running towards. And I kind of combine running and meditating at the same time and really kind of have like an introspective run while I'm doing it. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but that's what I do. And so, but I am into crystals. So I keep crystals in my purse and all around my house. And I keep them in different little spots. You wouldn't even know they were there. And I usually have crystal jewelry, but I seem to keep breaking it. So if anybody's in crystal jewelry, please send it to me. I will rock it and promote it. So yeah, at Angel Rich 27 on IG.
So it was supposed to be intentional, or whatever that was around you at that time didn't serve you and protected you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that I'm covered with the Lamb of God. And I've actually had, at this point, people might shrug their shoulders, but for real, I've had countless near-death experiences. Like I have lost count at this point. And I'm talking like near death, where like for real. So I think that there's, when you're doing good in the world, the evils will definitely come for the strongest, like Job. So I do feel this constant tug. I got a Bible on my windowsill right now, as soon as you enter my house. So I definitely strongly believe in staying covered because I'm on God's mission, a direct mission from God. So I have to definitely be aware of the different energies that I allow around me.
Mm-hmm. So we're running out of time and I know you're super busy. I wish I could keep you forever. I want to know like more about you as a person. So like, what's your favorite color?
Green.
Somebody over green.
I like purple too.
That's my favorite. What is your favorite food? Because DC got a little bit of everything. So your whole palate is like you've tasted the world.
You're gonna laugh. It might be chitlins.
You know what?
I mean, I've eaten in the finest of 5-star restaurants in Rome, but you can take me to South Carolina and give me some chitlins. You know what I'm saying?
Hot sauce or no hot sauce?
Hot sauce.
Oh, Lord. Yo, why did I have a feeling you were going to say that, though?
Hey, I'm a real one.
Favorite genre of book to read?
Black history.
Favorite author?
That's a toss-up between Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, and Og Mandino. I might go with Dale Carnegie.
Okay. And so, dare I ask your favorite book?
Besides History of the Black Dollar, I might say it's a toss-up between Booker T. Washington, Up From Slavery, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Mm-hmm.
I might go with Up From Slavery.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have to tell you that your turtles in the background are so like they're pleasing. They're like,
this is my meditation. I have a permanent. I just sit there. I don't have it on right now because of the interview, but I have double filters on both sides, so it sounds like a waterfall in here when it's going. So I just sit there. Sometimes I play other little meditation music along with it, and it's just so relaxing. I have massage therapists come over, so it's like, light candles. That's how I relax.
that's your self-care.
Yeah, I have the Zeal app, so it automatically comes out my account every month. So I have massage credits already built up, and they come to my house and set up right here in the living room. I don't got to go nowhere, and it's like the best thing since sliced bread.
How are you holding up since quarantine?
Well, it's actually been kind of fruitful for us. We just released a new book called Wealthy Life Financial Literacy Textbook. We've already been using it and implementing it for the past 6 years. It's been adopted by the Department of Education and has a ton of accolades. So we finally decided to release it to the public. And so it's on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble. It's called Wealthy Life Financial Literacy. And so we're excited to have just released that. And that's really kind of what we spent our time doing over the past few weeks in the COVID, as well as we released a new version of Credit Stacker, which is Credit Stacker Pro on Google and iOS. But we're definitely focused right now on connecting with as many schools and families as possible, so that they can get the financial literacy textbook guide, however you want to view it, into their homes so that they can use it for family engagement in their families, as well as give kids a fun online tool to be able to use while they're doing all this online learning at home, and just let them relax and play a game. But trust me, they're learning at the same time. We got the research to prove it.
So as a parent, I want the history of the Black dollar to be implemented into the curriculum for my children. How do I go about that as a parent that knows nothing about this world, but I do see the value and I do want my child to get this knowledge?
It's actually really kind of easy when the parent is empowered. They just go to the principal of the school and say, we want this book adopted. That's it. Surprisingly, principals and teachers are very receptive to that. It's just a matter of the parents requesting it.
Okay, so you heard that right.
Yeah.
Except for in Boston, where we're disconnected. No.
I've spoke at Harvard twice, though. I will say, I'll give Harvard credit. I've spoken at Harvard twice. And I spoke at a bookstore in Boston as well. It's like the most popular Black bookstore out there. I don't know if you're familiar with
it. Frugal bookstore in
I think that is the name. And it's set up with it's like a bunch of books all over the place. Yeah. I spoke there as well. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is aside from the interview. Do you remember the first time that we met?
No.
So you were honored at the Black Woman in Media.
I do remember you now. Oh my gosh. I always wondered about you. And you did a great interview that day, girl. Let me know how I can support you. This is your calling right here. I do remember you now. Yes.
So the picture that I posted for this interview was the picture that I took of you while we were in New York.
Wow. You are doing your thing, honey. I'm proud of you. That's what's up. I think about you often.
You do.
I really do. Because you had such a pleasant spirit. I was like, I wonder what happened to that girl. Hey, you got free me on Facebook.
Well, I thank you so much for your time. I love you. I appreciate you. I really hope so. As soon as we get off this live, I'm calling my life insurance policy representative and I'm switching over to universal life policy because I have 2 terms. I have 1 term, quote unquote, for my son since he's 2 now, but they were like, you need a term just for him by himself. And then I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. And they were like, you need a term for them. And then you can have your whole. So I have 3 different policies. And at no time was I told that I could use so pause. Let's say after 3 years, I put into my universal life. Could you pull that as like a down payment on a house?
100%. That's actually how we advertise it. I would also suggest, people might criticize me, but me and my top life insurance friends that aren't into scamming people agree. It's no need to have a life insurance policy on a kid. Like, do you plan on them dying in the next 10 years? Unless they got some type of health issue where you need to have a life insurance policy on them. We don't agree with that. Instead, you should be putting that money into some type of 529 or making those additional payments into the cash value so that you have that money saved up to be able to go towards their college tuition. Then, hey, in the event that something happens to them, you have that nest egg. But spending money on a life insurance policy for a child is unnecessary. And so that's a whole thing that they came up with. So you should get a life insurance policy for 18 and above. I would suggest you moving all that money around. You can get UL on yourself and either make the additional payments to the cash value or get a 529 college savings plan.
Any or tips that you would like to share with us before closing out?
I would say that people should start paying their bills 3 days before the 1st. That is a very simple trick that I have found that has really helped people the most. I think that's I think that piece of advice has helped people the most. And people don't realize, I didn't realize that you had to pay your bills on the 1st of the month. I know people say that, but I didn't know that you had to actually pay your bills on the 1st of the month. I thought as long as you paid them within the month, you made it, For real.
Credit card is due on like the 22nd.
If it's due on the 22nd, then you should pay it on, the 19th.
Also, 3 days before it's due.
3 days before the due date. Absolutely. So that you're giving yourself enough time for it to register for it getting paid on the 1st. It seems like a lot of people that I'm coming across and that write me letters say that they've been paying their bills, but that one simple thing of being able to have it register on time like that improves their credit score.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a lot of other things that I could go into as well about just how to pay your credit. But I would say, I guess the other big tip I would give is dispute everything. And like I told a lady yesterday, I don't care if you know or think that you owe it or whatever, dispute it anyway. Make them prove that you owe it. And
It wasn't me.
They always coming for your life. You just simply, I don't remember. How they gonna prove that you remember that you owe this? I'm just saying. So that also gets a lot of things down. My credit report used to be 12 pages. I spent about 2 years disputing everything over and over and over and over again, as well as paying some things. But just going through that process, I was able to get 70 items removed that I did not have to pay. And my credit report is now only 9 items, a half a page. So, and 8 of those items are student loans, and the other thing is my car loan. So that's the only thing that's on my credit now, going from 12 pages. So don't sleep on the dispute process either. And we're coming out with an app in probably June or July called Credit Fixer that people will be able to download where for $10 a month, we're going to automate your payments for you. And we're going to pay off your debt to increase your credit score for you. So all you got to do is sign up. We're going to use our algorithm and do it for you.
So right now, credit dispute company, and for the people who don't want to pay the monthly, whatever dollar amount it is for the monthly fee, I wrote a book on finally calm a home for the Black people that have never had their own and have been living in apartments their whole life. And one of the chapters I've been selling for $10, and people have been using their credit using the step-by-step guide on how to do it themselves. And you will not, you know how many people, so by trade, I'm a real estate agent, but so many people could not buy a house because of their credit. And so instead of sitting around waiting for them to fix it or figure out how to fix it, I just took it upon myself. Like, if you want to buy a house, let's do this. Let's fix your credit so you can buy this house. But there's like 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds that have absolutely no idea about their credit score, what's on their credit report, how to fix it, who the 3 bureaus are. Like, the financial literacy that lacks in our community is heart-wrenching. Like, I wish if we can, at another time, I'd love to have a whole nother conversation with you about finances alone. But your resume is so long, like it's going to take us 2 days just to go through all that you know and all that you can share. So I think,
girl, I forget sometimes. Sometimes sometimes I'm sitting places where they introduce me and I go, oh, I forgot I did that. So I can't imagine other people trying to keep up with me. I'm impressed when people do, because I can barely keep up with myself sometimes, you know?
Yo, you have a dope role. You have a dope role. What's your sign?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay. That's why you dope, down to earth.
Yes, yeah. Also, earth sign, exactly. Yeah, I think the Sagittarius are very focused, down to earth people. You know, half human, half beast. You know, we go really hard, but we also play hard. And I think that we have very strong sides to our personality. You know, as long as you can accept that, I think a Sagittarius is one of the best people to be around, for sure.
Aside from the of course.
For what sign? What are you?
A Taurus.
Yeah, my mother's a Taurus. Yes.
So
a Taurus definitely gonna get it done. I told you, the persistency. A Taurus gonna, they're gonna lock in and they ain't shaking off.
Well, thank you so much, Angel. We love you. We appreciate you. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day that we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Angel, I'm going to get your address so I can get you a t-shirt so you can awaken your third eye.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you later.
History of the Black Dollar, Credit Stacker. Go it's a free app. Download it, play the game, make the kids play the game, and go ahead and hit up your principal, hit up the teacher, and tell them that you want this in the curriculum. History of the Black Dollar.
Thank you. And follow me on Instagram at Angel Rich 27.